Dr. Stephen Holt. I'm your facilitator for tonight, and we've got quite a bit to do. So if you have not already, please make sure that you sign in at the entrance table. And then secondly, we're going to give you a moment after we run through a couple of things to take advantage of this wonderful food that has been brought in and is now being set up. So we want to make sure that we get a chance to eat tonight. In fact, I will co-chairs. I will kick it to you, and you can let us know when it's a good time to go get something to eat. Okay, we'll put that in your hands. Excellent. Thank you very much. Welcome tonight. This meeting is a meeting that is open to the public. It is not a public meeting, which means that as you see the agenda, the items that are being covered are the items that will be discussed tonight. You have the opportunity to kind of see, hear, listen into the discussion of the Community Development Initiatives Committee. And on the back, there will be room for open and public comment. The request is that you would make your comment in relationship to the things that are on the agenda, but should there be something else that you want to talk about, I'm going to ask the Prosper Portland staff to identify themselves. These would be the people you'd want to interact with. So, Prosper Portland staff, would you raise a hand so people can know who you are? Wonderful, wonderful. All right, we're going to get rolling, and just a word of instruction. Some of you already know this with your microphones. If it is red, you'll need to push it in order to speak, and when it's green, you get a chance to interact, and then if you'll push it back to red afterward, that way you won't be captured if you don't want to be captured. So we're going to do a quick roll call around the table.
Hello, I'm Kimberly Moreland, Project Manager for the Interstate Corridor Urban Renewal Area.
Leisha Posey.
Michael Harper, new board member.
Jennifer Juan.
Jennifer, you can just take that mic. There's no one calling.
Okay.
Dorsey Johnson.
Gwen Thompson.
Maurice Raming.
Quentin Blanton. This is my first evening as a new member of the Interstate Corridor Urban Renewal Area.
Welcome, everybody. Let's go over item number 2, meeting minutes approval. Co-chair Maurice Raming.
Did everyone have a chance to read the minutes? And we're looking for a motion to approve. Yes. What was that?
I noticed a few heads going, so.
Okay, we'll give some people some time to read through the minutes, and we'll get back to it.
Perfect.
Are the meeting minutes being kept up to date on
Kimberly, the meeting minutes, are they being updated on the Google Drive?
Repeat that, I'm sorry, I was a little distracted. Have the minutes been updated?
Yeah, I was wondering if the Google Drive that we all have access to has all the meeting minutes.
We have been putting them on, but we actually put them on our website, and we will put them, make sure they're on the Google Drive.
Turn on your mic, please.
It says that I stated that I did not want to use the funds for the ADU program, and I did not say that. I said I wanted to bring the funds back and then have a discussion on what we would do with them. So I just want to clarify that I did not say I don't want to use it. Bring the funds back and there'd be a discussion about that, and I didn't want to vote on that at that night.
Thank you for the clarification, and that will be noted in the final minutes.
So if everyone had time to review the minutes with that addenda to the minutes, can I get a motion to approve the minutes?
I have a question. In reading the minutes, it appears that there were several questions related to the Willamette district, and it appears that the minutes are showing answers to that. Is that correct? The questions were listed and answers have been provided within the minutes?
The minutes do reflect some of the questions that was answered at the last meeting, but we do have an update and some follow-up that will be presented tonight.
Great.
So I'd still be looking for a motion to approve the minutes with the addenda noted.
I approve. I motion to approve.
So motion was made and approved by, or I should say seconded by Jennifer, so is that correct? Motion made by Dorsey, seconded by Jennifer. Okay.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries unanimously.
Thank you. We move forward. Dorsey, you're going to introduce some new committee members.
Yes. So the new member selection committee met over the past couple of months. We had candidates that we reviewed, and we were able to select 4 new members who are Quentin Blanton, which is on the end. He's starting tonight.
Welcome, Quentin.
And we also have Michael Harper that also is starting tonight. And then and we'll have 2 new members starting at the beginning of the year. Ebony Amito, please forgive me if I mispronounced your last name, and Joe Calderon? Yeah.
And Ebony
Yes,
is in the
Ebony
audience
is
tonight.
here today.
Hi, Ebony.
Would you mind standing, Ebony, and being recognized as a new?
Pull your mic a little closer, couldn't hear you. Hi, Ebony.
So on the behalf of the committee, we welcome you to the Northeast Community Development Initiative.
Thank you very much. Now we have a Prosper Portland update. Kimberly Moore.
Thank you. At our last meeting, we didn't really get a chance to talk about the progress report, so I would like to just introduce this document to everyone. This document highlights the accomplishments that were accomplished during the fiscal year 18-19. I like this document because it highlights the Oversight Committee's accomplishments. And the Oversight was established in May of 2017, and they have accomplished several things. We have the Cultural Business Hub, who have moving forward with the creating a criteria for the Cultural Business Hub. We established a project charter that was formulated from one of our members who kind of established the framework for the project charter. We also created a new reporting system that was inspired by the leadership in the Investment Allegation Subcommittee. We also commissioned the Bureau of Planning and Services to do a redevelopment impact study that was also inspired by our redevelopment leadership subcommittee. We reviewed the Business Navigator contract, and John Washington and Fawn Albertson are here tonight to talk about their progress, and we selected, MISO was our business navigator, but we also selected a community outreach navigator that was led by the community outreach subcommittee, and we now have both a business navigator and a community outreach navigator that supports our work. And early on, even before the Oversight Committee had their first meeting, they had already met to select candidates for the Community Livability grant program. And so we have a very active Oversight Committee made up of 11 members and who have donated over 100 hours, attended 21 Oversight Committee meetings, and multiple subcommittee meetings. And the document also highlights some of our clients who we serve, like the Sons of Haiti, who received a community livability grant of $125,000 to do some major repairs to the historic building. We also highlighted a couple, Victoria and Delroy Burton, who want to renovate their single-family home on Mississippi, which is now occupied by an office tenant, but they want to maximize the development of that site, which is in a very active commercial district. And they're considered one of our long-term property owners. We also highlight Origami Catering, which is another recipient of our Prosperity Investment Program grant, as well as a loan program to expand his catering business. And one of the things that is kind of seasoned throughout the document is the fact that if you know better, you do better. And so as we're trying to become more transparent, become a more equitable organization, we're thankful for the leadership of the Oversight Committee, and we're looking forward to having an even more robust year. And so this document is produced every year, and so I'm looking forward to 2019-20. And so I just wanted to briefly go over there and just applaud our Oversight Committee for all the work they have done and establishing them. Thanks. And also, at this time, I want to introduce our student intern, who is our new Yvonne, and some of you remember Yvonne. But Diane Powers, she's a student at Portland State. She was raised and born in Atlanta, Georgia, and has been living in Portland for 3 years. This is her last year at Portland State, and she's a community development major. Welcome, Diane, and thank you for being a part of us. Also, we'd like to discuss, there's a document that you have that talks about events that are coming up. And Diana will bring that up. It's this document right here that says upcoming meetings and events. On October 2nd, 2019, the project working group would love to invite you to come and discuss the possibility of amending the Interstate Corridor Urban Renewal area to bring in the Russell Williams site, which was called Hill Block at one time. Now it's called Russell Williams. And I would like to invite you to engage in a discussion and grapple with some of the pros and cons of bringing the site in. And so that's going to be October 2nd at 5:30 at New Song. On October 22nd, we're going to have an onboarding for our new members. So all 4 of our new members will participate in a session with Dr. Holt and the co-chair to discuss and learn more about the North-Northeast CDI. All members are welcome to come. You know, it's a great refresher, and it's really helpful. We're also going to have our equity manager there, Court Morse, who's in the house, who also will provide the equity framework that we function under. On November 7th, we will have a special gathering to celebrate Oversight Committee members for all their accomplishments and their support and dedication to the work, and also welcome our new members. It will be at a new event space called Louisa, And I hope everyone can come. It's going to be a nice celebration and an opportunity to also talk about the initiative as well, so the public is welcome to come as well. I took the liberty of selecting the dates for our next meeting. In the past, we had met every third Thursday, and so I put those dates tentatively so we can discuss those, and I'm hoping that we can come up with a consistent schedule so we can put those on our calendars. So please check your calendars and see if those dates work for you as well, Dr. Holt. And because we can maybe Wednesday, Thursday, whatever, but I'm hoping that we can establish these dates quick, as soon as possible. Also, I provided a document called 2018-19 voting guide, but it really should say 2019-20 voting guide. I presented this last year, and it had a list of important decisions that's going to be coming up, and I wanted to present that again. And one of the decisions is the reallocation of the 1.8 million ADU funds, and we're going to talk more about that tonight. Also, the second one is increasing the Interstate Corridor Urban Renewal maximum indebtedness, and for you new folks, it's kind of like increasing our credit limit, but there's going to be a more technical explanation given tonight. But that decision is going to be led by PHB, who will utilize that money to develop more housing opportunity, and we also will receive a portion of those dollars as well. And so that discussion, Leslie Goodlow will talk about that more tonight. And also another one is amending the Interstate Corridor Urban Renewal area to add the Russell Williams and property. And so we'll be, again, as I explained earlier, on October 2nd at the project working group would be a good opportunity to learn more about the pros and cons of bringing that in and exactly what do that mean. And when they do, at that meeting, they will be providing a one-on-one about the about TIF, the tax increment finance that undergoes, it's the funding for these new districts. And you'll learn more about that. So I really encourage you to come to that meeting. So these are three major decisions that will be taking place October, November, and maybe even the first of the year. So, do you have any questions? Great. I know we have a lot on our agenda, so
Perfect. Thank you. That's quite a bit that you covered already. Let me kick back to the co-chairs real quickly. It looks like dinner is ready. Do you want to pause for a moment and give people an opportunity? Would you like to do that? Okay, so we're going to pause for just a few minutes since dinner was not ready prior to our getting everything going. Love you to go get some of the goods that are prepared for tonight. We're going to give a chance for our Oversight Committee to do the same, so we'll dismiss you to go and gather.
And I just want to say one thing. Tonight, the catering is provided by Plant Basic. So he's a new entrepreneur, new caterer who features plant-based, so no meat.
All right, let's go. Please, grab some.
We can't find a way necessarily to access them with services and money support to reach them. So, the difficulty, that's one of the barriers that we're having. So, but one of the next barriers that we've been dealing with is that to a bigger degree, the trauma that our community is dealing with is still there. And so we struggle a little bit with the brand. We can talk to someone, we can introduce someone to the process, but the minute we put the paperwork in front of them and that big old Prosper Portland symbol is on that paperwork, the next thing we get is now we navigating. Well, I guess that's what y'all pay me to do, but we get the resistance. The first thing is, well, we don't want to deal. So we're still dealing with a faulty brand, and we're trying to navigate around that aspect of things. So I don't know if we can somehow or another look at some way to figure out how to, have some independence. The committee itself, have some access to a brand that may be a little bit different, that when people see it, perhaps they, that there's another type of way that we can use that brand to navigate around that. So we can use some other support systems to be able to somehow or another do that. So like the building of ADUs, for example, we got a lot of small contractors in our district that want to build these things. So I don't know how we can access, if there's any capital or resources available to access to help these small contractors build ADUs. And there's a lot of minority contractors here that want to do it, but yet we don't have the resources yet to be able to somehow or another help them through using the resources, the $33 million that we have here. So I don't know if there's any suggestions as to how we could possibly help them. I think that would be my next step.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Questions, Oversight Committee?
One of the things that you had mentioned, can everyone hear me now?
Yes.
One of the things that you had mentioned is that as far as people being able to acquire property, Prosper Portland knows how to acquire property. So is there some way that we could create kind of a short checklist to actually help these people to be able to acquire property? And is there some assistance that Prosper can provide so that navigating that, it is a challenge for people that haven't done it to be able to do it, but for those that have. So that's just a question that I'm just posing. It doesn't necessarily need to be answered, but if we can look at ways of helping those people navigate the system.
We are considering a developer of color initiative that would look at those property development and property acquisitions, and it would be a great opportunity to encourage the contractors and others to be a part of that.
Thank you very much, Kim. The last thing is that I don't know whatever happened to the Portland housing, that whole issue around that $1.5 million. But I'm looking at, if there's an opportunity or a way that we can sort of begin to utilize some of that money to support some of these smaller contractors to build these ADU units. The other thing is that we haven't, in this next period, we've hired an additional navigators, and we're getting ready to blow the lid off of this thing. So we've test driven it for up until now, and we've only, meeting people at 25 people that we've introduced to the navigator. But we're getting ready to open up the media portion of what we do as far as social media campaigns, community outreach campaigns that are going to really start bringing a lot more people into the system.
I just want to clarify, he means ambassadors when you.
Right.
Yeah. And that was part of the contract, as you guys remember, that they would hire community ambassadors to kind of be the foot soldiers.
Okay. And we're pushing up on our time, so I'm going to kick back to our co-chair.
Okay, no, go ahead.
We're getting ready to roll this out the first of next month.
Yeah, it's already kind of all the concept and the back end stuff has gone. We're going under the moniker Black Rose PDX. So it's going to be a blog kind of thing, a social media stuff. We're going to be featuring some of the people that we have put through our navigator system. And it's going to be exclusively, news for the USARAC area. So we're going to focus all the businesses in that USARAC area. So as we said earlier, we started off with a boutique approach. So now we're going to go more to a mass flooding of the market. We feel more comfortable with what we're doing and the process that these people are going to go through. And, we've been working a lot with Kim on adjustments and things like that. So, yeah.
Thank
It'll
you,
be
Quinn.
A good second adjustment.
Question, and then we'll go to Shanice. You had a question, Gwen? Your name tag's out.
You said Quentin.
No, I said Gwen. Sorry.
No worries.
Quinn.
Thank you So I'm so happy to have you guys here. I remember not very long ago, we were looking for outreach navigator, and now we have one. So I'm just super happy that Jennifer and I were able
Thank
to
you,
work
Jen.
as a committee on there, and that we've come this far. So that's amazing. I have a couple of questions. One, I'm going to paraphrase what you said, Vaughn, related to you've been shepherding people in, which is obviously what we want. I want to get a sense of what that process is. So are you bringing people in by, of course, telling them about the products, and then are you essentially shepherding them to Kim, which is fine. I just want to know how that works.
Yeah, well, so obviously throughout the last, the 6 months from February to July, we did a lot of outreach. We did community events. We would set up tabling and that kind of stuff. So in that, we would identify people and just are basically canvassing of the area. And then we would meet them at their location, and then we would pull them into our office and meet them one-on-one for a few hours, chit-chat, get their vision, their dreams, and nobody's lacking of vision and dreams about their goals, which is wonderful. Yeah. So we get inspired by the stories, right? And then we're like, okay, so now where do we go next? And so what we've done is pull Kim, and Kim's brought some of her team in. And then some of them got referred through MISO. So, and that's a great process, and it's with all the infrastructure. But we're also up against time with some of them, with where they want to go. So that's where we're saying, like, there's the good long-term business support stuff that I think folks like MISO and stuff bring. But there's also a need for rapid successes, to get, like with Vernon. The building owner isn't going to be selling his building forever. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they have that intimate relationship, and it's not even on the market right now. And he's kind of ready to go. We got to get the paperwork. So John has been literally just hand-holding a lot of these folks one-on-one. So he's doing a lot of hand-holding.
Well, I mean, hand-holding is one thing, 700 paper is another, and that's a hard beast to find sometimes out there. And so, and during the summertime, I mean, anybody that got 700 credit score generally on a vacation, I guess, but at least I would be. But the whole idea is that, and as we flush through it, we find that there are people who have visions, who have desires, who want to do things. And then, of course, you have people that are established businesses. Those people who are established in business or in home ownership, as I said before, we're still dealing with the brand issue, okay? So and so when I approach that, I usually don't flash the brand in approaching it. And so, but what I find is that people are really excited about it until I flash the brand. So, that's sort of for me a little bit of a barrier. And then again, like I said, there are these larger organizations that we meet with who have the clientele for the housing parts of it and stuff like that. But it's hard to access that through the structure in which we have and the grants and things that we have. So we can't, and then we can't expect them to breach their confidentialities and that kind of stuff to be able to get us the clients to it. So we're still trying to struggle to figure out how to navigate around to get to those bigger pools of people who can benefit, okay, that some of these organizations already have access to.
I want to clarify what John is saying about the brand. So just to give you an example, when you think of Lentz, right? When you think of the J District, when you think of Cully, right? So Cully right now, when you go out there and you talk to people, they know it's like the Hispanic community around that, right? Lentz and some of these J Districts, it's the Asian community. This Northeast Community Initiative is still not 100% connected with the African American community. And that could change. That could be different because Prosper Portland, although I think their brand is really great and they've done a lot to work on it, they mean so much. They do so much, right? So people are thinking more broadly instead of like the people in Lentz, the people in Cully think. They know that that's for the that community. So we think that the next opportunity is to really, through the Black Rose PDX and by branding this committee and the work of this thing, is going to be helpful and take some more ownership for the Black community in general.
Thank you very much. Gwen, did you have any other questions or comments?
I appreciate that I had two more questions and you essentially touched on both of those. I wanted to just touch on this idea of partnership and partnering with other organizations in the neighborhood. I think that's essential. I think it's not something that we need to do. I think it's something we have to do. So I'm willing, I'm sure many of the members on the committee would be willing to help you devise some strategy for that. I don't think we can be successful without our partners.
Yeah, I mean, if there is a pocket of money or something that is independent that we could house, and somehow or another this committee has direct access to approving opportunities to get access to it, I think we'll be moving in the right direction.
Well, thank you very much. We appreciate your report. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for the work. Co-chair Gwen Thompson, you're going to talk to us about what success looks like.
Oh, yeah. So hold on a second. So there was some conversations that I've had with individual members of the committee at times, and this is like a candid discussion. We are doing business, but this is also a candid discussion. I find that each of the members on this committee works supremely hard. I'm so proud of everybody, and I think that we're having a lot of success. Fortunately, Kim touched upon it today, and I appreciate her effort in identifying the work that our previous co-chairs have done have been acknowledged. The progress report that you guys all heard today was essentially spurred by our past co-chairs, and it's a very important document, and I hope anybody who has a chance to read it will take a deeper look at that. And then this member group that I'm looking at right now are all very dedicated. So I thought we could take some time and be reflective on what does success look like to each of us in our work. I'm going to send out a survey via email that just has 3 simple questions on it. I'm hoping I'll get responses back, and that we'll just be able to share out. So not only will we be able to recognize the work that we have done, we can identify for ourselves a strategy of the work that we want to do and continue the progress of the committee. Simple. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I think we're at the point where food is ready. Do you want to break again and give an opportunity to grab some? And let me just make a point in time reference. If you look at your time as well as the agenda, we're right now at 7:15. If we take, say, 5 to 10 minutes, we still should be able to hit our timeline tonight. So we'll give you a moment to go grab some grub. Thank you. And if the audience members will be kind enough to let the committee get their meals first, that would be fantastic. That way they'll come back and eat while they work, and you guys can eat. If we could reconvene. We are going to make an adjustment in the agenda. We're breaking a rule. Instead of going to number 8, we're actually going to go to number 9. And then we will do number 8 after number 9. So hopefully you can hold onto your hats and nobody falls off their chairs. I'm going to ask Portland Housing Bureau to come, and they are going to give a report. And there will be no action taken on this report, no real discussion in the moment, and then we will go back to section 8 and hopefully still be able to get out at the projected time. So I'll let them introduce themselves. That's Portland Housing Bureau.
Good evening, you all. Is this on already? Can you hear me just fine? My name is Dana Shepard, and I am with the Portland Housing Bureau, and I manage the home ownership, home retention, and home repair programs. So Leslie is handing something out to you, and then I'll let her introduce herself and give the report.
Well, good evening, everyone. I'm Leslie Goodlow. I'm the Business Operations Manager for the Portland Housing Bureau, and I'm also the staff person assigned to the Northeast Oversight Committee for Housing. I lost the words for the moment. And so today we have one recommendation and 2 informational items that we're going to review for you, and then I understand that this is going to be tabled to go to your Housing Subcommittee. But we were asked to have a recommendation for tonight, so we're going to talk through this information. So the first one is regarding the $1.8 million that have been given to the Housing Bureau for our ADU program. As everybody knows or should know, well, maybe the new people don't know, but we were given $5 million out of the $32 million or $33 million that Prosper has in Interstate for people making 80 to 120% of AMI, and $1.8 million was assigned for an ADU program. The program that the Bureau developed was not supported by the mayor or by our Oversight Committee, so the money has been sitting. And so at our last Oversight Committee meeting, we discussed the funds, and our Oversight Committee is recommending or making a request that those funds be moved into home ownership, and that they be given some time to do some review to determine what are the best options for use for those funds. So that's our ask. The second piece of information is regarding the Interstate Urban Renewal area and maximizing indebtedness. And we had a meeting of both groups, so what was it, a year or so, almost 2 years ago now? And so our group, our Oversight Committee met earlier this month, and they unanimously voted to support maximizing the indebtedness. And so we've notified Prosper Portland, and we'll be working towards that goal. There are approximately $66 million available to maximize the indebtedness. 70% of that would go to the Housing Bureau for affordable housing, and 30% would go to Prosper for economic development, and more than likely under your purview to be used under one of your goals. And then and just for your information, on the back side of the memo are the 4 proposed projects that we talked to our Oversight Committee about. Those are not set in stone, but the last time we talked, we were in the process of buying a piece of property. The Strong family, Mark Strong, that owns or runs Life Change, and Jackie Strong, we purchased a piece of property right on the corner of Alberta between Williams and Vancouver. So it's just about an acre. And so we finalized that purchase about 2 months ago. And then the Water Bureau property, which was just recently included in the URA, that I think I talked to you all about a couple months ago. So we went to Prosper's board, and they agreed to include it in the URA. And then we have set aside funds for 2 more projects to be determined in consultation with our Oversight Committee. And then last but not least is a recommendation regarding single-family homes being included in the URA. I know Shanisha was going to give me a big cheer today. So we reviewed this, and the Housing Oversight Committee will be considering a recommendation at the November meeting. I have been in consultation with Justin Douglas and Robert Smith at Prosper about how we can make it work. So there'll be more to come about that, but we will be reviewing that at the November meeting. So,
Any comment from you, Dana?
No, but there's no questions.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
I just wanted you all to meet Dana, since she's going to be coming to the Housing Subcommittee with me.
Hi, Dana.
She just found that out.
Hi, Dana.
Hi, Dana. Welcome, Dana. Good to see you and meet you. Gwen, comment.
Do you have a question?
Co-chair?
You go next?
No, I thought we weren't asking questions, but we
Okay.
can go ahead.
Hi. Thank you. We've been looking forward to your presentation, or just you were like part of the family, Leslie, and then you just didn't see you for a while. So thank you, Dana, for being here as well. The single-family homes, including in the URA, of course, that's exciting. That's exciting to this committee and to this community. I'm wondering, does that mean when we're looking at a street and there's a house that is 500 feet out of the URA, or remember those conversations, is that essentially what you're saying, is these houses that are bordering on essentially the boundary could get included?
Right, so based on the study, they did 500 feet and they did 1,000 feet. And so we have to determine whether we can include everything at 500 feet, or maybe we can only go to 250 feet based on the numbers and the acreage available. When I initially sent the draft the other day, I wasn't taking into account that there are some other requests for to be included in the URA that I was not aware of. And so we're going to have to adjust what we were thinking based on those other requests. But it will be somewhere between 0 and 1,000 feet, and we'll make a determination of how much we can include. And it would be some location around the URA.
Great. Maurice and I were just conferring a little bit. So you've already said it, the real work of this committee needs to begin to happen in our subcommittee level, because we want to make sure that we're using our best efforts to vet things and to discover and understand. We're hoping that you guys, either of you or someone from the Housing Bureau, might be able to participate in those subcommittee meetings. Obviously, we don't know what you know, and there's a reason why you're here making a recommendation, and we want to understand better what those recommendations are for. So probably not a lot of questions from us at this point, but a lot of discovery that we would like to begin.
So I just would like to make a request that those, that I get the notice sooner, like a month in advance or a couple weeks. So if you've already got them scheduled, if you could go on, somebody could send them over to me so that we can get them on our calendars.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Quentin, did you have a comment?
On the part number 2, where it says maximizing the indebtedness of the Interstate Urban Renewal area, I was wondering, with you guys getting the additional $65 million for housing and economic development, how much of that, or do you have like a breakdown of how much will go towards ownership of homes versus rental properties, or?
Right now, we have determined that specifically the Cary Boulevard property would be home ownership, because that's why we bought it. So that will be somewhere between 40 to 60 units, depending upon who the developer is and what we can fit on that piece of property. The rest of the projects would be somewhat determined by our Oversight Committee, what they would like to see. So we haven't had that discussion with them yet, since they just voted 2 weeks ago to do this. And so there'll be more to come. This is going to take probably anywhere from 12 to 18 months to finalize, because this is a big process, which is why we're trying to get a decision about the single-family home so that we could do it at the same time, because otherwise it's another major amendment, and that's just a lot of work. So
Thank you very much.
that's,
Alicia Posey.
Can you tell me again which properties or suggested properties that you took to the Prosper Portland Board and they voted into the URA?
the Cary Boulevard property that's in North Portland. It was a piece of property that was owned by the Water Bureau that we purchased.
And the board, the Oversight Committee, your Oversight Committee made a recommendation to the Prosper Portland Board, and the Prosper Portland Board voted to allow it in the URA?
Yes, yes, and I came and talked to your group about it a few months ago before I went to the board.
Thank you. Do we know what our vote or our recommendation was on that? What was it? To be included in the URA?
I don't recall that.
I don't think we had.
I don't think it was bought.
I do. I remember the discussion. This is where the goats are? Is that
think
the
we
one where
should-
the goats are?
If I could give a point
So-
of
so
clarification.
you all
Hold
don't
on,
vote-
Excuse me, pardon me, excuse me. Thank you. Let me give a point of clarification. When it comes to economic development, then that is the work of the CDI. When it comes to housing, that is the work of the North and Northeast Oversight Committee for Affordable Housing. So the two are separated. Housing issues stay in the housing with Portland Housing Bureau, and then economic and workforce, et cetera, comes to the Northeast CDI. If it's combined, then it's both that weigh in. If it's combined, yeah. For example, for the Hill Block, which isn't determined yet, both committees, if it's determined by the Hill Block Project Working Group that housing would be a part of it, then that would go through the Housing Oversight Committee. If it isn't determined that housing is a part of it, and it's only commercial or so forth, that stays all within the CDI. So anything that's economic, community development, and/or cultural business hub, that is all CDI.
Yeah. And I would just like to tell you that that's stated in this document. On the last page, it's the last item, the language and the decision-making process is outlined in this document.
Dorsey,
Can I talk?
yes, absolutely.
So I'm confused. I remember Leslie presenting on that and requesting.
Mic on?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Barely.
All right. So did we not vote on that? Is that what you're saying, Kim?
No, you did
So-
not.
It was information only.
Yes.
It was information only.
It was,
Just
yes,
information.
you guys did not vote.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your report. We appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you very much. Back to number 8, subcommittee report outs. We'll begin with property ownership and redevelopment. Dorsey and Maurice.
All right, so at this time, we don't have anything. At this time, we don't have anything to report. Prosper Portland, the subcommittee, as well as PHB, will be setting up a time that they can come present, and then we will look over the material and discuss any recommendations and vote on that and bring it back to the subcommittee.
Excellent, thank you. Business ownership and growth. Gwen.
It's up there? All right. I am going to draw your attention to this very long document that Kim created. Which one is it? Looks like this. And it says Northeast Community Development Initiative Action Plan reporting January 2017 through March 2019. Better? So does everybody have that? All right. I am presenting an update for Goal 2, which is supporting business ownership and growth. And as of March 2019, we had served 22 clients. The total amount awarded was $1,020,000. The total amount committed was $686,000, and the total dispersed was $622,000. Yes. So the good news in that is that the total amount dispersed is very close to that committed, which essentially translates to the money getting out of the door, and that's why we're here. That would be 2/3 of the amount that was awarded at the 1.2. And that was as of March. The update that is on the projector screen shows that we have now served 30 clients as opposed to 22. The total amount committed is up to $741,000, and total dispersed is $687,000. So good job to Prosper for increasing its numbers, and that's wonderful. Community is being served, and also great job in getting the amount of money that is committed out the door. That's something that we were looking at in this goal from the very beginning, and something that we're keeping our eyes on. So I'm very happy to report this update for Goal 2. And if you have any questions, I would be happy to answer those questions, as well as Sue Lewis. Sue, do you mind coming and sitting at the seat just so I can acknowledge you? So Miss Sue Lewis is our partner at Prosper, who essentially created this update for us and is keeping her eyes very close on the numbers and working with our clients. And I just would like, I mean, this is your work, so in honor of you, I'd rather have you speak to it if you don't mind.
I was just going to introduce myself. I'm Sue Lewis, and further that I am the program manager for the Prosperity Investment Program, and that is specifically for business owners or property owners, and it is a grant that is mentioned up there, the 30, and what we do is it's a maximum of $75,000 up and a 75-25 match. So the grant provides 75%, and the applicant would supply 25% of the matching funds. And so the grant is for physical improvements to the building, so we're restricted by state statute that requires that our funds be used for physical improvements to the building. And so we're doing a great job, and we're getting those dollars out the door for you.
Any questions for Sue? Again, she is our resource at Prosper. Her information is listed on our resource list, so if any of our members are interested in the work that Sue's doing, or small business loans, grants, PIP, she would be the correct person to reach out to.
Thank you, Sue. Good to meet you. Thank you. I should say seeing you again. But, all right. Thank you very much. Any questions from the Oversight Committee for Gwen? No? Okay. Home ownership, Janisha and Maurice.
Yeah. Well, the home ownership has nothing to report out at this time. One of the things we will like to be able to do is work with PHB to set a date for the next meeting. So my suggestion would be for PHB to identify what date works for them, so we'll work our way around their schedule so that they can appear in front of this committee.
Excellent. Community Livability Grant. Karis.
Hello. Okay. So I do have a report to share. The Community Livability Grant Program just opened up September 10th, and this is what there's a handout in the back if people are interested to grab one of these. I've served on this committee for far too long. I was pregnant with my first son, and he's 10. So, I mean, he's 9, so 10 years. So, but this is a really extraordinary program that offers funding. And I'll just say the line that we say. Prosper Portland seeks proposals from community-based organizations for projects that foster vibrant and healthy neighborhoods and improve the prosperity of area residents and businesses. Some of the organizations and projects that have been funded over the years have included daycares. We were involved in the process to improve the kitchen at the Elks Club. Vancouver Avenue Baptist Church has been a recipient, New Hope Missionary Baptist Church. So many churches, many not PPS schools, but independent schools have been the recipient of grants from this program. So definitely, please help spread the word about this program. That there are funds there, and I do a lot of advertising for this in the community to get people, because there's funds there, and you will most likely get something if you present a worthwhile proposal. There is. If people need application assistance, there's application assistance provided. And I do want to share that our oversight leads, Gwen and Maurice, did meet with Kim earlier and before the applications were sent out, made public, to talk about some of the things that we needed to change with the program just to make it more accessible. And so some of those things included extending the period of time to submit your application, because it takes a while to get the information out. I mean, we know about it, but it takes a while for the rest of the community to know about it. And so what I found a lot, and I'm sure they did too, is that people were emailing and calling me like 2 or 3 days before it was due and trying to rush and get something put together. So we've extended that period of time, so we're just hoping that we can really rely on folks in this room to help spread the word on that. So please be mindful of, we need your help. And another thing that Kim Moreland, thank you, Kim, for coming up with this suggestion, is that we're going to have an orientation kickoff, inviting organizations that have been recipients of this grant, and also inviting folks that are interested in applying for this grant, so that those ones who have received the grant can share about the process that they were involved in, and then also just give tips. And then it'll be also a celebration for those organizations that have been recipients of, and they can share about what they've been able to succeed through the grant. The application period does close on Friday, January 10th, so we've got plenty of time. And the announcement of the approved proposals will be in February. So that is it. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for Karis?
Yes.
Microphone, please.
Have you scheduled the kickoff?
No, we have not scheduled the kickoff. That's next after we present it tonight. So we will get that date out to everyone.
Gwen?
Karis, can you touch upon the process of approving the applications?
Sure. So there is a committee, excuse me. There's a committee that's composed of a few of us that are here in this room. Jennifer, Gwen, Maurice, I'm trying to think who else. Was that everyone that's in this room? Yes. And, are you on there? Okay. Well, we're welcoming you back. Absolutely. And there's open opportunity for others in the community to participate on this committee as well. I mean, when I first started on it, I was invited, and so there's not an application process to be on this committee. If you let one of us know, then you can join the committee. So, yes.
We just have to make sure that there's not a quorum. So
yes,
have
there's
to
no
limit
conflict,
that
right?
to at least 6 people. No, 5. There's 5 people.
Okay. And, that was the other thing. If there is a conflict, like if you're involved with one of the organizations, that's okay. You just don't participate in voting on that particular project. But it's great to have input from people that are involved in some of these projects as well. Yes.
What are some of you guys' outreach efforts? Because, how are you getting this information out to like the common layperson, and how, because I've never heard of this. So, what kind of things are you guys doing?
So I will call on someone from Prosper to maybe share some of what they're doing. On a personal level, I've always put this out on, if you're familiar with Good People PDX, I always put it out there, and I also share it with Almina Ministerial Alliance. Pretty much every community organization that I am affiliated with or know someone that's affiliated with, I send it out. But I really think that we need to take the responsibility now as a group, now that we're all knowing about this, to put it out to our networks as well. But I would like Prosper to possibly share where they're putting it out.
I'd like to ask Sue to come up. We are looking at some new ways to get the word out. And she'll share.
Thank you, Sue.
You're welcome. Good evening again. I'm also the grant manager for the Community Livability Grant. Previously, that was held with Allison Wicks, who has moved on to the city of Milwaukee, so we'll miss her terribly. But I've been inheriting a really good, well-organized program, so it's easy to take over that. And the outreach that we're doing, we've sent out an email, we do a Facebook, social media, and what we did is we pull all the nonprofits that are registered with the state, and we do a direct mailing to them. We're also going to be working with the community outreach navigators to get them the information so that they can spread it out into the community, and with all the other nonprofit organizations that we work with.
But if you have suggestions, please share.
And we also sent it out on the North CDI communique that goes out monthly, and it's
Right.
roughly about 120 people that we send it out to. And we also send it out on Prosper Portland's network that has quite a few, I believe like 5,000 on their email blast, so.
I should add, and then we're hoping that this committee can also help spread the word. The Community Livability Grant is specifically for nonprofits only. And so the PIP grant I talked about earlier is for commercial businesses, and the Community Livability Grant is specifically for nonprofits. It's only open for a period of time. We make the selection, and then they have hopefully a year to complete the project. And again, the flyers are in the back that has a website and information on how they apply online. And then we do one-on-one assistance if they have questions. One of the basic things is they have to be within the urban renewal boundary, because again, our state statute says we can't spend the money outside of the urban renewal boundary.
Thank you very much. Alicia.
Hi, Sue. Would you guys be willing to make any small amendments to include areas right outside of the URA for nonprofits?
I don't think that's possible at this time. And then, so what that would be, the minor amendments would be, could be tied with what Kim is organizing or discussing earlier, not organizing.
And the reason why is that the Community Livability Grant is supported by TIF dollars. And you can't use TIF dollars outside of they have to stay within the particular URA. We would have to probably try to get like general revenue funds to support those organizations outside.
So you're saying that we can't do minor amendments for the Community Livability Grant?
Thank you.
Oh, sorry. One of the things that we've been talking about is I think there's enough questions out there, including what you just heard from the Housing Bureau, as well as questions like this, that I think it would be a worthwhile conversation for us to share with you what would be kind of a Prosper and PHB perspective on when are we considering things moving into the district. Because I know we've shared information about the process, but not what's the perspective, and then also get a perspective from the committee about when would you want to see things moving in, knowing that we have a limitation and that starts to set both we have the process, but we need, what's the criteria that's a shared criteria for when things move in. And I think it's something that I've talked with both Dr. Holt and Kim about, that I think it would be helpful to have your perspective so that we can do it on a rolling basis, and we can say, okay, given the kind of the trade-offs of when something moves in, right, we're taking acreage away from something else moving in, what's the priority for how we consider that? And I think now is timely, I guess, right, like particularly given housing's conversation around maximum indebtedness and housing's conversation around single-family homes. I think now's the time to do that.
Excellent.
Sorry, I'm Lee Sobwoff with Prosper Portland. I should have done that.
Thank you very much. Maurice, you had your name tag. Janisha, I got you.
I definitely understand you guys are doing hard, or you're working hard to have the community changes within the community, but where are the community voices involved in this as well? I know you said the committee, but where are the community itself involved in some of the processes that you're using or you're doing or having done for the community?
So I'll probably also turn to Dr. Holt for this one. It's a very similar question came up in a preparation meeting with the Russell Williams Project Working Group co-chairs. And I think it's a great question because they're asking that question particular to bringing that particular property in. And so one of the things that they're going to discuss at their upcoming meeting, I believe in October, is how, because they represent a large number of organizations that are out in the community, how are they letting their community know about the potential for that particular site? I think it would be helpful, and again, it gets to what is the process. Prosper has a mailing list that was tied to when we put together the North-Northeast Community Development Initiative. Housing has a similar mailing list from when they put together the housing strategy. I think it would be helpful once we set the criteria, we could certainly kind of share that with those mailing lists to affirm kind of that that's the approach that we're going to take. But I think the first and foremost thing would be to understand, knowing that not everything can be brought in, to understand what the priorities of this committee as well as the housing committee that that the Housing Bureau hosts, what their priorities are and what your priorities are, so that we can put them together, because sometimes they'll be shared and sometimes they might be at odds.
Okay, thank you. I would only add two things, that the project working group, which is made up of several entities like Urban League representative, representative from POIC, Rosemary Anderson High School, representatives from SEI, et cetera. Those individuals will be going back to their constituents and sharing the information, and then which will technically be about 20 different engagements between now and December 4th. And then on the 4th of December, there's going to be a very large community engagement that's going to happen, bringing as many people who want to come together who haven't been reached through that process, so to make sure that as much as possible they're getting good and current, connected, and real in-time feedback around decision-making. So it's being informed by community members as well. So I think that's important to know. Gwen?
Thank you for that information. I want to make a recommendation related to it, because as we consider bringing properties within the urban boundary area, or we reflect on those that have been bought in, it seems very ad hoc to the committee. And it almost appears that there was different set of criteria and different priorities for each one. So something that might help us is, when you do have this sharing out of criteria and priorities, et cetera, that you also reflect upon and bring back the list. Okay, so we did this one, and here was the reason why, and here's another one, and here's why, so that we won't have this sense of it being very ad hoc and dismembered in a way.
Thank you very much. And let me just add to that, part of the work, and we shared this a while ago when we did our joint meeting just about 2 years ago. Part of the work and the effort, is I'm the off again, on again, in again, out again guy that's been a part of this work, but part of the effort that we're trying to do is have a coordinated approach, so it is not ad hoc, and that there is a greater view from the economic side to the housing side to everything that goes on, so it is a coordinated effort, and it doesn't seem like it's piecemeal, because that just is not wise for community development. So that's something we're working on. Quentin.
I was going to say, just to kind of touch on what Leisha said earlier, I would recommend that you guys kind of expand this, because, you know, at post-gentrification, I don't know how many nonprofits we really even have in the Interstate Urban Renewal Corridor area anymore, but I know that some are in East Portland and other parts who have been displaced to other parts of Portland. They could possibly use those funds as well. Maybe there would be some way to bring those funds, or bring the opportunities back to North and Northeast Portland. But I don't know, after gentrification, I just wonder how many, is it just a small pot of nonprofits that are benefiting from this?
Microphone.
Yeah, that's mine.
Have you had repeat awards?
Yes, I was going to answer, we can answer that question. So this is a program that's available in different TIF districts throughout the city. So it's available out in Lentz, which pretty much runs kind of up Foster to just about kind of a few, probably 10, 15 blocks east of 205. And then it's also available out in Gateway, so kind of the Mall 205 area. So there are opportunities for community organizations. So like, it helped actually ERCO's Africa House out in Gateway is just one of the examples of community nonprofit anchors that are really important ones out in East Portland. But certainly, I would open it up to, if there are ideas of how we market it, and that we don't just market it on social media sites that actually speak to a community that lives both or kind of is active both in Northeast and in East Portland, that we let folks know it's also available in Gateway and Lentz.
Very much.
And your question was, can you apply again if you've already received a grant in the past? And yes, you can. It's all in the handbook on the website, but what happens is the first time you apply, you're not required to have a match, It's good because it helps support your project, but you don't have to. The second application, if you're awarded, it becomes a 50-50 match. So you have to bring in real cash dollars. And then the third time, it would be a 75-25 match, where you'd have to bring in the organization would have to bring in 75% to it. And the maximum that any one organization, total dollars that they can get is a maximum of 300,000. But on that flyer that you have on the back, it shows what each urban renewal or TIF district, what the budget is. And so like some of the budget's $200,000. And the review committee, so made up of members like yourselves, will look at all of the applications and the dollar amounts and determine which project that they are going to recommend moving forward and for how much. And how do you spread that budget out?
I don't know if you know offhand tonight, but since during the time that you've been giving these awards, how many would you say have been repeat awards?
But I'd need to look at.
And if you don't know tonight, that's fine.
Yeah, because I would want to look at, of the total grants we've given, how many of those have been repeats? And I would guess 25%.
Alicia, your name tag, and Karis.
Oh, wait, I wasn't finished.
Oh, okay.
That was just a follow-up to her comment. but
Gotcha. Oh, so you have another question.
So I just want to just expound on the reason I asked the initial question, because I do think that there's opportunity within this URA where there are nonprofits who on this side of MLK are in the URA and then right across the street are not. And they won't be able to access these funds because they're literally across the street. So doing that minor amendment is an opportunity for us not to see ourselves distributing the money to the same nonprofits, throughout the duration of this time. So just a consideration of what that might look like as you all begin to have these conversations around making determinations and processes, because I know of nonprofits who are in the North and Northeast Portland who may just be right outside the URA boundaries.
Thank you very much. Karis, were you going to?
I was just going to speak to the percentage, and it is a very low percentage because we get that historical information at every year when we go back in to review the applications, and that is something that we take very seriously, that we're like, I remember this name. And especially we look to see if we want organizations that can complete their project within the year. And so that's what we've noticed with some of those repeats, or ones that they're coming back and they haven't completed the last project because they needed a little bit more money. And so they may be adding this to what they came in with the year before. So we definitely give priority to new applicants. But I definitely hear what you're saying about just being across the street, because if you're including one half of MLK and not the other half of MLK, we've had that discussion. So absolutely.
Maurice, and then we'll move to the next. Yes.
Is it possible to set a percentage of new applicants that we are going to award? So instead of just saying that we're looking at who has the best application, but being intentional about expanding the pot. So if we said, say, 50% have to be new applicants, is that possible?
I think the review committee can set that. What we don't know is we don't know how many applications we're getting, but on the criteria for reviewing, it is given priority to applicants that have never received funds before. I mean, so that would be up to the committee, the review committee.
And I guess my question is it something that we can put on the application so people that are applying know that that is a priority of the committee?
Yeah, it is on the in the handbook, on the guidelines, that says that priority will be given to those applicants that have not received funds in the past.
So just for just to clarify what I'm saying, so if the application said 50% of these funds will go, for example, 50% of these funds will go to new applicants. That's different than saying priority will go to new applicants. That gives them the thing of saying, I have a good chance of getting an award because I'm new.
Yeah, I think that's a great opportunity. Since the application process has already opened and it's out there, then I would leave it up to the subcommittee to review that as a opportunity and then vote on it. And if that's what they want to do, then I would say that the next year, let's definitely do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Go ahead.
Just really quickly, I think the other thing, just so that, because we can come back maybe with kind of a 5-year look of how many of the 5 years, because it sounds to me like all of those 5 years, the new applicants were more than 50%. So let's just also affirm that, and that way, okay.
Perfect. Thank you very much for participating in the report out. Cultural Business Hub, Jennifer Young, thank you.
Can you hear me? Yes. So, unfortunately, we don't have anything to report out. From between now and our previous Oversight Committee meeting, our big push was to get a Cultural Business Hub tour of good precedents within the city of Portland to review and take some ideas from to help define what our Cultural Business Hub is. Unfortunately, and Kim and Joanna worked really, really hard to get that to make that happen. However, when the invite went out, there were only 2 responses for a bus that was meant to hold 20 people. So I'm calling on you guys here, my Oversight Committee members, to please step up and please participate because it is your feedback that we're looking for and the community's voice and feedback as well. So in light of that, I think I'd like to just try to schedule a Cultural Business Hub committee meeting in order to regroup and think about what our next steps can be. Perhaps we can pare something down. Perhaps we can invite speakers to talk to us independently. But if we could just take some time right now to schedule the next meeting, I would feel a little bit better about our progress.
All right. How would you like to proceed with that, Jennifer?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys have a date that would work, or if there's perhaps we could just say in next week, are daytime hours or evening hours better? Like over the lunch hour or
I'm flexible.
Evening, flexible, okay.
Do you want to set a date right now? Because on my calendar, it looks like October 2nd.
October 2nd is good. That is also the project working group. That's when they're going to do.
Yeah, October 2nd in the evening, project working group will be meeting here. But October 3rd is a week from today.
Yes. We could would the 3rd work with people? The 3rd, yeah? The 3rd doesn't work for you? Okay. This would be for the Cultural Business Hub specifically. Oh. The 4th, the Friday, let's see.
Friday, the 4th works for me.
Oh.
4th works for me.
4th works for me.
Do you want to meet during the day or the evening?
I'm in Boston. Okay, so then but earlier in the week would the 1st work, or then we
Have
could
it be
8th.
after lunch
at the
or
subs-
later.
Okay. Okay, so then would does the 1st work and if we could do it in the evening, that perhaps could happen? First evening? Okay. I'm sorry. So Kim, does that work with your schedules? And Joanna? Yes, Joanna. Okay, yes. Yes, in the evening. Okay, yes. Yes, that would be awesome.
At Prosper?
Yes, at Prosper.
What time?
Anytime after 5.
5:30?
30.
Is it possible to do it on this side of the river, just because
Only would be challenge of location. Do you have a space?
I have a space in southeast Portland?
Okay.
No.
Okay, I guess I'll meet at Prosper.
It's very big of you, Maurice. We thank you for that. Prosper Portland, October 1st, 5:30. Cultural Business Hub Subcommittee meeting.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you,
Jennifer.
Jennifer.
Appreciate it. We are now going to go to public comment. We are a little past our time, so we're going to go to public. Sorry, I don't want to skip past that by any means. On old business, item B, Willamette TIF District Acquisition URA Amendment. Yes, don't want to skip that. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kim, for calling that out.
Acknowledging that there are two new members, we're happy to either kind of recapture what the kind of proposal is, just so you have a sense of what the background is. And then what I would love to do is just focus on, given that some of the questions were answered in the minutes, are there remaining questions that folks have that you feel like were not responded to in the minutes that we can respond to in person?
Okay. Hi everyone. My name is Joanna Filgueiras. I'm a project manager with Prosper. I'm working on this project to potentially create a shared manufacturing space. The property is located in Swan Island, but it's currently under the Interstate URA. And we're looking to transfer into a URA or TIF district that has been closed in 2014, but we have some money left there. So we'll do a small amendment to transfer that property over because it's less than a block away. And the reason for that is because since we already have some money in the URA to use for investments such as this, that would free money from Interstate to be used in other things instead of using the money from Interstate. The project is manufacturing space, is about 48,000 square feet. It has a commissary kitchen, warehouse, and office space, as well as outdoor space. And it's currently for sale. We're looking to make an offer soon, and it will be contingent upon being able to transfer the property to do the amendment to the URA.
So we had put up the questions that kind of came through via the minutes. So I'll just kind of read them out, which is, if the property is brought into the Willamette TIF district, would that district be reopened? And the answer is no. So it's a closed district. What we have is we have resources in that district that we can spend within that area for particular use based on city council direction, and that particular use is to support industrial jobs. The second question is, what is the legal structure for this situation? We weren't quite sure what sat under this question, so we answered it from a development standpoint, which is what we're looking at doing is actually buying the building and then rehabbing it and putting it back out for multifunctional use. So it has a kitchen component, it has a warehouse component, it has an office component. That's the way we answered it. We weren't sure if that question was more about how would it move out of Interstate and into Willamette. So if that's actually that question, let us know. Is it? Okay. So what would happen is we would take before our board at the same time an action to remove it from the Interstate TIF district and move it into the Willamette TIF district, and they could do it as one action, one at the same time. I should rephrase that. They could do it at the same time as our board if they took it out of Interstate first as like a first action and then put it into Willamette as a second action.
And just on that, on the last time when I presented, we also clarified that we would only purchase the property if this amendment is available.
So what it's called is our proposal to the property owner will say it's conditioned on our board approving these actions. So the next one was, is the remaining approximate $4 million kept in a bank earning interest? The answer is yes. It is making about 2.5% interest. And how is the interest on the money in the TIF district being utilized? Ultimately, what's happening is it's just accruing in that bank account for that particular TIF district. Does that? Sorry.
Excellent.
I don't know if there are other questions. We just wanted to make sure, like, I had heard some of the questions also just from having talked with Kim was a little bit of kind of what's the impact to the Interstate TIF district of removing it. So I did like a really back of the envelope calculation. So it's about 2 acres in a TIF district. So the Interstate TIF district is 3,300 acres in total. It would be removing 2 acres from the 3,300 acres, which is less than 0.1%.
Leisha.
So my question is this conversation on this document or no?
It is on this document over here.
No, I mean, where does it fall in terms of decision-making process,
It's
Matt?
that last bullet on that last page will be the minor amendment. But I'm not sure, removing the property really, it's on the language would be related to that last section of the decision matrix.
So 3.8?
Yes, when we talk about minor amendment, but I have to defer to Lisa about whether removing a property is consistent with that language or aligns with that language.
Here you go, right here.
I mean, given the way it reads, which is making minor amendments, and it is a minor amendment.
Oh, so I was clarifying because last time we were told it was just information only. That's the only reason the information was being shared with us, and that we had no role. So I just wanted to clarify if we do have the preliminary recommendation role, and if so, is that to the Prosper Portland Board or is that to Prosper Portland? And do we need to have a discussion here about that? So I just wanted to clarify that, and that's less about that, but more about process here. And then also, if it moves into the Willamette TIF district, which is not open, I don't know if I still understand all of that, but it's not open. One of the, I don't know if I want to use the word benefit, but I can't think of another word right now. One of the benefits to the Interstate Corridor URA and the Inclusive Business Network that Prosper Portland has is that outside of the TIF funds, which can only be used for construction, there's access to those resources for technical assistance for businesses and property owners. Will those technical assistance programs transfer into the Willamette district? And if so, how does that funding work? Or how will all that work to support, especially if we're talking about industrial businesses, which I would assume are less populated by the target audience that we're trying to reach.
So let me see if I can, there would be no resources that are drawn away from the Interstate TIF district, whether that's for projects or for technical assistance, because it would be in a new district. And there are activities by the Inclusive Business Resource Network that happen outside of Interstate today. So if there are businesses that Joanna's working with who are within our strategic alignment and our mission, who are owned by people of color or disadvantaged communities, we could have the Inclusive Business Resource Network in the same way that they work in East Portland or other locations be funded through that general fund versus Interstate. Yeah.
And can I just add, so our goal as we're focusing on people of color, it is to work primarily with our in-house network like IBRN and Mercados and all of that to reach those makers. And when we're talking about manufacturing, it's a lot about makers and small manufacturing as well. So we're not talking like the very large, but we're talking the people who are trying to get into the business and don't necessarily have the money or the capability to go and rent a 30,000 square feet warehouse, and they need to start at a 2,000 or 3,000 and then graduate from there. So that's really the goal.
Janisha, you're okay? All right. Quentin, you're fine. I saw you.
Okay.
Yep.
I just wanted to know very briefly what are some of the limitations of TIF dollars from your point of view?
So the number one limitation is that it has to be used for what's called fixed improvements. So you can do things like landscaping, you can do things like exterior improvements to a building, interior improvements to a building. You can even do fixed equipment for a business. What you can't do is it does not help as working capital for a business or operations. So those are the limitations.
Yeah, you can't buy chairs or the
Yeah.
tables.
Yeah.
You can do the floor and the wall, but you can't.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's why I would just touch on really quickly. It's why we have worked pretty hard over the past couple of years to align our TIF investments with our general fund investments that allow us to do more of the technical assistance and operating support to businesses.
And I would encourage you, Quentin, and anyone else who'd like to get kind of a brief overview of TIF and how it works, next Wednesday night, right here, October 2nd. That's part of the discussion that's going to be happening with the Project Working Group as they're discussing the URA, which is why everyone is invited to come to the URA discussion for next Wednesday. And so they'll be talking about tax increment financing and how it works, and what it does. Gwen and then Leisha.
Just for our own knowledge and the expansion of our knowledge, I know, Joanna, you were vetting, looking at the possibility of buying the building. What swayed you to the point that you are now?
So when I started, Lisa told me there is money in this area, and I started just investigating the area and saw this property for sale. So my background is all real estate. And one of the things that I heard a lot within our team and the folks that work in the ACTAV department was the need for a kitchen space, especially food businesses. Food manufacturing is one of the fastest growing businesses in Portland. And when I went to see the property, there was a kitchen. So that was really like the one thing that we were all like, there is this humongous kitchen. What can we do around? And my initial thought, it was actually, how can we create an ecosystem of food manufacturing there? But we have come to the point, it's like, this is too big. What else can we do? Because it's 48,000 square feet. So, but that was really the main point that caught our attention. And then a lot of working with our manufacturing team as well and listening. We need smaller manufacturing space and share manufacturing space for people who are trying to start.
Two more points to that question is, how do you see it operating? Would you see like startup businesses, so maybe micro enterprise kinds of opportunities, existing businesses that are running but need warehousing space or kitchen space, that sort of thing? Essentially, yeah. That kind
I think
What's
both.
your projections?
Yeah, I think both, and I think it's a great question because I literally just worked on some business plan and ideas, and it's an ongoing conversation of how we're gonna do this because of the size of the space. But I think in my mind is like startups and mid-sizes that are still kind of trying to go on their own.
It's just, I mean, it becomes, from an operational standpoint, you really need an operator. When you start working with a lot of small businesses in a 48,000 square foot building, you need a lot of, or like just an operator that supports those small businesses. And as they come in and out of the space, it becomes really important. So I think we're working through, we definitely know we want the kitchen to do something that's community-based. You also have an office space, and then you have a warehouse space. So it's also 3 different kinds of spaces of thinking through where's the highest value to the community and to small businesses within each of those different kinds of spaces. And then making sure that we're also confident that we have an operator, because that's not something that we have programs to run and other things to do, to make sure that we have an operator who's out there, who's making sure that the tenanting aligns with our mission and is there to support the businesses and can actually do it in a way that's successful.
Thank you. Just point of reference for everyone, we're at 8:27 at this moment, so we are past our normal time. I know we've got other comments, but and then space for public comments. Alicia.
People have other questions for them, or you want to let them go?
Maurice?
Apologize. Are you guys plan holding the property or letting it go?
Holding.
Okay.
Thank you. Yeah, Alicia.
Thank you. So can you tell us a little bit more about the October 2nd meeting?
We can talk, certainly. If you want to hold it, I will wrap it up.
That's what I said.
Yeah. No. What? Not them. I'm talking about after public comment.
Oh, no.
I'll talk about
I was hoping that everybody could hear, because I don't,
Oh.
is there an agenda? What is are we sitting in the audience? Is it a collaboration?
The co-chairs have been invited to participate in the discussion from the co-chairs of the project working group.
Mm-hmm.
It is asked and open to all, as every project.
So like a regular meeting?
It's a regular meeting.
That they're putting on.
That the
we're
project
invited
working
to kind
group
of-
is having. It's been a discussion leading up to this moment for the entire time. And so the discussion is around the urban renewal area and whether or not there will be a recommendation which would come back to this committee from the project working group about adding the property on Russell and Williams and Vancouver into the urban renewal district. So
So are we just sitting in the audience, or is it an active participation thing? Okay, that's what I wanted to clarify.
meetings at 5:30 next Wednesday. And actually, co-chairs, you're asked to come to participate in the conversation. Right. Yeah.
I just have one.
The meeting will be right here.
Okay.
Maurice, I didn't hear you. You're good? Thank you very much. All right, public comment. And we will. Thank you. Yes, please, introduce yourself, and you will have 2 minutes, sir.
My name is Juwan Manuel. I'm a local resident here off of MLK, actually, Northeast Portland. I own the food business over
You got to push the button, please.
I own the food business over there. It's plant-based poppy, but specifically plant-based poppy tacos. Forgive me, I was actually ready and prepared over at the actual office building and did not know that you guys needed me to be here. So forgive me for my tardiness. Of course, if you guys see me around from there, say something about it, and I'll make sure to take care of you in a way. But I'll be at the convention center next weekend on the 5th and 6th for Veg Fest. My whole motive and everything behind it is, one, entrepreneurship, especially being a person of color here in Portland, and also to bring health and conscious foods to my community. So I do a lot of pop-ups over here off of Williams for Walk Williams Market, and just building a brand. Started at the beginning of summer. I hosted over there at Louisa, the event space, for a community thing over there. So just building from there, and just wanted to introduce myself. So if you see me out in the community, please come by and say hello. I love what you guys are doing here. I didn't know this was even taking place, so I will definitely be an active member coming up soon to just come by and be more informed.
Excellent.
But thank you, guys.
Thank you. The food was delicious.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
And I want to add my apologies for not clarifying the location. But also, Jawan is an example of who would use be part of that food production. You know, he would definitely be, kind of a poster child for that that development. And I would encourage you to connect with Joanna.
Okay.
So she could tell you more about one of the projects that we're working on, purchasing a building for food production.
Okay.
So she could tell you more about that.
Wow. I was just going to say really quick, it was a difficult issue trying to find a commercial kitchen to cook out of. I finally eventually hooked up with the people at Akati over here and been able to use their things in the evening. So hearing that is amazing. So
Awesome. Awesome. Good to meet you. Yep. I'm going to have you take a seat, push that red button, introduce yourself, and you will have 2 minutes. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I know you guys all want to get out of here. First and foremost, thank you for the hospitality. Second, congratulations to all the new board members. Third, Kim, thank you for welcoming me here. My name is Mo Badruddin. I'm a citizen and first-generation student. I'm spearheading the Albina and Brooklyn relocation project. You guys all familiar with the Albina Rail Yard, the Brooklyn Intermodal Yard. These are 2 intermodal yards that are owned by Union Pacific. As I'm sure you know, there are real barriers to redevelopment, relocation in this complex and constrained area here, but also significant opportunities. Okay, our region has not been able to produce affordable, inclusive communities that are sustainable over the long run. And we now have an opportunity to do something that would be unprecedented, and that is to get it right for once. So Kim's been helping me steering. She's been extremely kind with her time and counsel and energy, and I've been blowing up her email. Given the approximately, I believe it's 291 acres of addable, what's left in the Interstate URA tank, I asked for your guys' recommendation and authentic community participation in helping me amend the Albina Rail Yard into the URA. so that those that have lived here for decades and decades and those that are moving here every day can, have stories to tell one another and rejoice in that.
Can you explain further what you would do with the rail yard once it's if it becomes in URA? He's an example of several different projects, why we need a more, transparent process for setting a criteria for bringing in projects. Mo project is relocating albino yard to a different location so he could use 215 acres to do a redevelopment. So he's another example of a project that would like to come into the URA, but as he mentioned, we only have 291 acres. So that's why we need criteria to set up that will help us make decisions on how to amend our URA. Unlike the other project, it will be a substantive amendment, which will require approval by the city council. Anything less than 40 is considered a minor amendment. So it would be, so he would be one of those projects that we would consider as we develop criteria. But you can tell him more about what you would like to see on that site.
Thank you. I'll be quick. My fiscal sponsor is the Northeast Coalition, NECN. I've raised just about $25,000 on my own. But in terms of the vision, I imagine I want to open up the river. It's obviously not accessible today. It's an active intermodal yard. I want to open that up, make it accessible to everybody, strengthen the relationship between people and nature. I'm obviously there's housing, recreation, wildlife. There's so many things that we could do and solve intelligently by developing this site. It's just so underutilized. And all I'm saying is my conversations with Union Pacific, humans existed before trains. And it's not the other way around. So
Thank you, Mo.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. Gwen, did you have a comment? No?
I just wanted to comment quickly just to say I appreciate your enthusiasm and your vision, and that's needed. And please come to more of our meetings. We'd love to hear public comments, and your voice means a lot to this committee, to our community. And you're doing the right thing by keeping in contact with Kim. She absolutely is the correct person to guide you and to let you know what's feasible and what's not feasible.
Thank you very
At the
much.
point that you come to this committee, it's for recommendations that have been pretty well vetted, and there's lots of work to do, but I want to wish you really good luck.
Thank you.
Dorsey, did you have a comment? Okay. Well, thank you, everyone. Thanks,
Yes.
Mo. We
Thanks for having
appreciate
me.
your
Thank you.
coming up. Thank you so much. Thanks, committee, for your work tonight. I believe that there's a date projected for the next committee, and Kim is asking you to weigh in and determine whether or not that date would work for, I think it's the 21st of November that is projected. Until we see one another again, everyone take care. Good to see you. And take some food.
Now, with the schedule.
Oh, sure.
Okay. What I'm trying to get us back on that schedule every third Thursday, and October would be part of that.
And thank you, Dr.
November.
Holt. Thank you, Dr. Holt, for leading us in our discussion tonight.
So I'll send out an email, so I think you guys are ready to go. So I'll send out an email.
Thanks for hanging out and staying over. Good night.